So somebody, they used a hose from the church to clean himself. Hay necesidad, there's needs outside. Esta persona usan de manguera para limpiar, para lavar. And so she just wrote a note to the church. Dear church, thank you for having a hose outside so I can take a small shower. There's such a need outside. We never know who has need. Nunca sabe qué es la necesidad de nuestro vecino. We might have somebody at our work, we might have a neighbor outside, but we never know what their need is. Many times we never know what's going on. But she took the time to write, toma el tiempo para escribir, gracias, por algo simple. And possibly if somebody was here, obviously we're going to offer them more than just water from outside. Amén. Quiere hablar acerca de cicatrices, scars. Yeah. Raise your hand if you have a scar. Does anybody have a scar here? Anybody? Oh, yeah. Anybody have one? I have a bunch. I have a scar in both elbows from riding a bike, different events. The más chiquitos is the ones from when I was chiquito, but the más grandes, it was when I got a bigger bike and I went faster. And I made the ramp higher, and then I made it higher. And when I got it as high as it could go, I didn't use enough speed, and I went straight down. And I have scars. So I would come home and I would try to put a Band-Aid on before my mom saw it. But I forgot to cover up as I walked through the house. I had left blood trail all the way to the bathroom. But I cleaned the sink. I cleaned all the sink. Everything was clean there, but I have forgotten because across the floor I had left drops of blood. She said, "What happened? ¿Qué pasó?" "Nothing." "Uh-huh, yeah, right. Algo pasa." "No, nada." And so, let me see that. I had put this big Band-Aid on here. I probably needed stitches, but by that time it was already closed and in healing. So all of us have scars. Todos tenemos cicatrices. Cicatrices, no, that's the right word. Mm-hmm. Many times when we experience something and we have an accident on our bike, or maybe we cut our finger preparing the salad or something. Right away when it happens, it's very painful. Inmediatamente tiene mucho dolor, muy rápido. Pero con tiempo se pasan, es menos y menos y menos dolor, y ya solamente we just have the scar, tiene cicatriz. So, vamos a buscar en nuestras Biblias. Si tienes en su Biblia, también nosotros tiene esto aquí en la pared, pero es muy chiquito. Es mejor si en su Biblia. If you have it in your Bibles, es Marcos. Sometimes my computer puts it at such a small print. Es muy difícil para leer. En Marcos, en Mark 1, el Evangelio de Marcos es muy más corto que los otros. Mark is the smallest of the Gospels. Él es muy reserva en sus palabras, pero si él escribe en algo es por razón. If Mark is writing something, because his words are very reserved, there's purpose behind everything that he writes. So in the first chapter, en el primer capítulo, versículo 40, in the first chapter, verse 40, Hermana Diana, you wanna help me in Spanish?
La palabra de Dios dice de la siguiente manera: y un leproso vino a él rogándole hincada de la rodilla, le dice: si quieres puedes limpiarme. Y Jesús, teniendo misericordia de él, extendió su mano y le tocó y le dice: quiero ser limpio. Así que hubo él hablando, la lepra se fue luego de aquel y fue limpio. Entonces le apercibió y despidió luego. 44. Y le dice: mira, no digas a nadie nada, sino ve, muéstrate al sacerdote y ofrece por tu limpieza lo que Moisés mandó para testimonio a ellos. Mas él salió, comenzó a publicarlo mucho y a divulgar el hecho, de manera que ya Jesús no podía entrar manifestadamente en la ciudad, sino que estaba fuera en los lugares desiertos, y venían a él de todas partes.
Kathy, do you have it in English? No, you have it in English? Okay. Yes.
Okay. Jesus heals a man with leprosy. Verse 40. A man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus was indignant. He reached out his hand and touched the man. I'm willing, he said, be clean. Immediately the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go show yourself to the priests and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them. Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere.
There's something very specific in the words. Algo muy específico en las palabras 41, en 41, en versículo 41. It says, y Jesús, teniendo misericordia de él, extendió la mano y le tocó y le dijo: quiero ser limpio. 40 says, vino el leproso rogándole y hincada la rodilla, le dijo: si quieres, puedes limpiarme. He says, can you heal me? If you're willing. In English, it's again, because it doesn't always translate exactly, it says, if you can make me clean. If you will, can you make me clean? And in English it says, I will be clean. So the question sometimes is, do we want to be cleaned? Do we want to be healed of what's going on in our lives? But we're asking sometimes the wrong question of Jesus. If you can, si puedes sanarme, no es las palabras correctas, because Jesucristo tiene el poder, tiene toda la habilidad. Los tres en uno, crear el universo, crear el mundo, crear toda la criatura que vive. If God is the creator of the universe, and the three in one, God had created all the universe and all of the world and everything on it, everything that lives and breathes, do we doubt that God can heal us? ¿Tiene duda que puede sanar nuestro problema? But the words here are very specific, because the leper is saying, if you can, make me clean. But then Jesus says, quiero. He says, yeah, I want to be clean. He doesn't scold him for his question. He doesn't scold him for his improper words. He just says, no, I want to be clean. Whatever's going on in our life, many times we don't phrase it right with Jesus, but He understands what we want. Jesucristo posiblemente entendemos mejor que nosotros qué es nuestro problema, qué es nuestra circunstancia, y simplemente nosotros posiblemente tenemos las palabras incorrectas, pero Jesucristo entendemos nuestra necesidad. Jesus understands what's going on, and we don't always use the right words, but He understands what we're coming for. Cuando Él veo el leproso, entendemos su necesidad y simplemente quiere que Él pidió ayuda. That he was asking, that the leper, Jesus waited until the leper asked him. He says, yeah, I want to. What if Jesus did not wait for him to say, and he says, stop, be healed? Many times Jesus wants us to come to the point in our life when we are willing to ask, I need to be cleaned. I need to be healed of what's going on in my life. Jesus could walk over and heal a bruise on my arm right away. But the bruise takes a while. It changes colors and it becomes all ugly and nasty yellow. And then finally, after a week or 2 weeks, it's finally gone. It's a process. In the same way, God allows us, we have to go through a process of healing. It doesn't happen right away. Now, in this instant, obviously, He healed the leper in that moment. But He allowed the leper to come to his own words and come to the decision that he was going to ask Jesus to heal him. Muchas veces usted y yo, Jesucristo conoce nuestra necesidad, nuestra circunstancia, pero Él espera que nosotros tomemos la decisión para pedir. Jesus knows what our circumstance is. Jesus knows what's going on in our life, but He's waiting until we come to the decision in our own lives to ask for help. That we ask for healing. That we ask for His involvement. That we ask for His direction in our life. If I go through some circumstance this week, and Jesus doesn't take the proper time, the teaching or the learning that He wants to teach me does not happen. What is the thing when Fernando was 2 years of age probably, and he got close to the stove, and Maria said, "Don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's hot." And then finally, there was one time Maria wasn't fast enough, and Fernando touched the stove. And then he never touched the stove again. See? Es ejemplo nada más. It's an example that we can try to prevent things from happening in our children's lives by preventing the burn. But many times our children truly don't learn until they burn themselves on the stove. Now they understand. Nuestro Padre del Cielo, our Heavenly Father, does the same with us. He can do everything He can to prevent the problem from happening. He can do everything that He can to prevent the burn in our life. But many times, until that burn happens, we don't learn. No hay una enseñanza. Let's go. For some reason, it didn't print very large this time. We all have scars, and our scars have a story to go with them. Like I said, I could tell you, well, this scar came from when I was 12 on a bike, and this scar came from the Marines when I was setting a flashbang. I was in the middle of the night. It's a tripwire. When you trip over, boom! It's like a big firework. Well, I was setting it up in the middle of the day, and I pulled too tight. But that element was already in my hand, and I pulled too tight. Boom! I'm lucky to have my hand. I'm blessed to have my hand. It's not lucky. It comes out too easy. La bendición que Dios guarda a mí, yo tiene todo el sentido. I just have a scar where it was, where it happened. So some of our physical scars, some are physical scars. They cut, they bleed, they heal. Some are mental scars, and we experience, and sometimes the experiences are things that we want to forget, but they're teaching. Some of those experiences are a teaching moment in our life. Some are emotional, and in spite of what we do, this scar continues to be painful and can twist our outlook on life. We allow this scar to define us or defend our anger or bitterness. Todos tenemos cicatrices, y nuestras cicatrices tienen una historia que contar. Algunos son cicatrices físicas, se han curado y ahora están ahí. Algunos son cicatrices mentales y una experiencia que queremos olvidar a veces. Algunos son emocionales y a pesar de lo que hacemos, esta cicatriz sigue doliendo y puede torcer nuestra actitud ante la vida. Many times our experiences force us, or they want to force us, or we allow it to change my identity. That we allow an experience in our life to be the identifying thing in my life. Because I've experienced divorce and how painful it was. If I introduce myself and I allow that scar in my life to be so big that all I can think about is how terrible that experience was. Hi, how are you? What's your name? My name's Darrell. Who are you? Oh, I'm a divorced man. I allow that to be my identity. That scar in my life is the identifying thing. I could introduce myself and I could say, hi, how are you? My name is Darrell. I've lost a son. If I allow that thing to be identifying in my life, that's not truly what God's trying to do. He's trying to allow that the scar is a teaching. The scar is an understanding that when it was so bad that I couldn't be healed like the leper, what a leper has is most of the time is not healable. Es muy más grande. El leproso posiblemente no puede sanar con ninguna medicina, ningún tratamiento. The leprosy could not be treated. And so maybe in the doubt of the mind, in anything in this world, en este mundo, no hay remedio para sanar un leproso. So in the mind, the leper, even before he comes to Jesus, the world has written him off. He's a leper. They identify him as a leper. They don't even identify him as Frank or Joe or Bill or Tom or anybody. They identify him as a leper. He doesn't have a name. He's a leper. Because he's identifying with what's going on in his life, what scar he has. So instead of identifying Darrell as, no, that guy over there has lost his son. They don't even identify me as somebody with a name, somebody with a life, and somebody that God cares about. Muchas veces no puede identificar el leproso con un nombre, simplemente identificar que él es leproso. Identificar por su debilidad. So So our scars can be deeper than just physical or on the surface. We can lose our identity. Consider the leper in this story. Now he's just a leper, an outcast. He cannot live with others in his family. We have the feeling of isolation. Sometimes our scar, maybe we feel, is so deep that we start to step away from people in life. We step away even maybe from our members in the church because something's going on so deep that we don't want to be around anybody. ¿Tienes alguna cicatriz? Considera el leproso. Nuestras cicatrices pueden ser más profundo que solo física. O en la maybe that didn't translate right. Superficie. Superficial. Podemos perder nuestra identidad. Ahora es solo un leproso, como yo le dije. Marginarlo, no puede vivir con su familia. Él tiene familia. ¿Dónde está su familia? En otro lugar. Porque él no quiere contaminar su familia. He can't even see his family. So he's gone to go live outside the city because he doesn't even want his family to be contaminated with what's going on in his life. Muchas veces, many times in our own life, something that we experience, we start to push away from our family. We start to push away from our loved ones. We start to push away from Jesus because we think that this thing is so deep, this is so terrible, this is such a tragic thing in our lives. How can I relate? How can I interact the same? ¿Cómo funcionar el mismo con la gente si es muy difícil en nuestra vida? So our scars can make us someone we are not. The leper's life is only that of a leper. He's no longer a carpenter or a baker, etc. His whole being is a leper. If I stayed in the one place where we are right now, all of my identity is, that's the guy whose son committed suicide. And that becomes my identity. And if I can't outgrow that now, what Jesus is trying to teach us, if I cannot just allow it to be healed and allow it to be a scar and an experience in my life, I'm going to start to fade away from the church, from my family, from everybody, because I'm now a leper. I don't want anybody to feel what I feel. And all I'm feeling is bad things, so all I put off on everybody else is how bad I feel. How am I ever going to be healed? ¿Cómo sanarme? ¿Cómo es posible vivir el mismo? Si yo veo otras familias que tienen sus niños, tienen sus bebés. Nosotros tiene uno en el trabajo, nuestro compañero de trabajo. This weekend his wife's supposed to give birth to their second child. It's a celebration, it's wonderful. And my mind starts to work. I'm like, I remember what that was like. Yo recuerdo el gozo cuando nació nuestro hijo. I remember the day that Sean was born. It's supposed to be a wonderful experience, and it is. Pero muchas veces nosotros no puede con nuestros cicatrices, with our scars so deep. We don't want to think about it anymore. We start to fall back and we start to become the leper in our lives. Podemos tener la sensación de aislamiento. Nuestros cicatrices no pueden hacer alguno que no somos la vida de los leprosos. Es solo una de leproso. Ya no es carpintero, pandero, ya no es un padre, hermano. Jesús puede sanar nuestras cicatrices del físico, de mente, emocionalmente. Jesus can heal our scars physically, mentally, and emotionally. But the leper didn't believe it. El leproso no creo. And so I think that's why he said the words that he said, because he said, I don't know if you can. So his question was, can you? Can you heal me? I need healing. I want to see my family. I want to live back in town again. Can you heal me? I don't want to be a leper anymore. So that's why I think he said, can you heal me? But Jesus didn't scold him. Jesus said, yes, I can, and I will. Be clean. Jesús le dijo, ¿qué son? Quiero, comma, ser limpio. Says, I want to, and I can. No hay ninguna cosa en nuestras vidas que Jesucristo no puede sanar. There's nothing in our lives so big that Jesus cannot heal us. If he can heal a leper, which is much more than what's going on in my life, if Jesus can heal a leper by a simple touch, Jesus can heal anything that we're dealing with. We may have the scars, but those scars do not identify who we are. Los cicatrices no identifican quién es nosotros. Nosotros no somos leprosos otra vez. Esta persona, con todo su gozo, en 45, pero él comenzó a publicar mucho y divulgar el hecho, de manera que ya Jesús no podía entrar abiertamente en la ciudad. Jesus told him not to do that, but with all of his joy, he could go back and knock on the door of his family again. Entrar con su familia, hablar con su familia, y ya no es leproso otra vez, es el pandero, carpintero, tiene nombre, tiene vida, tiene promesa. Now he has a life again, because he allowed Jesus to heal his leprosy. And now he can live another time. He can live. And with all of his joy, he said, you don't understand what Jesus did in my life. Look at me. Mira a mí. Él sanarme. Yo no estoy leproso. Yo estoy persona que Jesucristo sanar. I am somebody that Jesus has healed. And that's what I need to be doing. And even if Jesus says, don't go tell everybody, I'm going to go tell everybody what happened. When Jesus heals each and every one of us from something, we need to be out in the streets telling them what happened. Who did it? ¿Quién fue a sanarme? Jesucristo. Puede decir sus vecinos, sus compañeros de trabajo, sus familias, y vivir otra vez. So as I was looking through Bible verses, and I was asking God, yo abren la Biblia por semanas y semanas. ¿Qué pasa? Señor, dárteme algo que aplicar en mi vida. Give me something, God, that applies in my life right now. What can I do? What promise do I have? ¿Qué promesa que yo tiene por medio de su palabra? What promise is there for me? Is my scar too deep? Is my scar too profound? Is my scar beyond healing? Am I unique in what happened to me? Todos de nosotros que pueden decir, si mi cicatriz es muy profundo, si mi cicatriz es mucho más que un Jesucristo que puede sanar. And I came to the experience of Paul. Vamos a buscar en sus Biblias 2 Corintios. Let's look in your Bibles. I don't have it here. 2 Corintios, 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. lost the Bible verse. Where is it? Second Corinthians, chapter 11. I was looking for where it says how many times Paul was lashed. Okay. Aquí versículo 24, verse 24. 11:24. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 24. I had asked the hermano Jorge, ¿cuántos latigazos reciben Pablo? Y voy a buscar, y aquí está. De los judíos, 5 veces he recibido 40 azotes menos uno. Of the Jews, 5 times I received 40 stripes minus 1. En la ley de judeos, si reciben 40 es una sentaje de muerte. So if they gave you only 39 lashes, you would be allowed to survive, because they weren't giving you a death sentence, so they gave you 39, not 40. So he received 5 different times, 40 lashes minus 1. So if we do the math, 195 latigazos. Latigazos, and we're not talking about a little spank on the back. We're talking about scars, cicatrices, muchos. We're almost 200 lashes on his back. 200. Is my scar anywhere in comparison to what he received? And that's not all that he received. There's many things here. It says 25. 3 veces ha sido azotado con varas. 3 times they beat him with rods. Una vez apedreado. 3 veces ha padecido naufragado una noche y un día ha estado naufragado en alta mar. So it says, thrice I was beaten with rods, once I was stoned, 3 times I suffered a shipwreck, a night and a day had been in the deep. How much suffering does one person have to suffer? Is my suffering unique in what's going on? No. My suffering is nothing in comparison to what's happened to other people. And you say, how can one man, ¿cómo es posible que Pablo reciba todo esto? Y regresó de su llamada en Hechos. And so we'll go back to his calling in Acts. In Hechos capítulo 9. In Acts chapter 9. Acts chapter 9, verses 15 and 16. El Señor le dijo, ve porque instrumento escogido me es para llevar mi nombre en presencia de los gentiles y de reyes y de los hijos de Israel. 16. Porque yo le mostraré cuánto le es necesario padecer por mi nombre. But the Lord said unto him, go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me to bear my name for the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name. It doesn't say that he might suffer. Posible sufrió. No, dice que él voy a sufrir. That he's going to suffer. And Jesus says the same words to us. It says, in this world you will have trials, you will have suffering. En este mundo va a recibir pruebas y luchas en nuestra vida. You're going to suffer. Porque este mundo es quebrantado. This world is broken. Hasta que Adán y Eva pecó, entra en sufrimiento en este mundo. As Adam and Eve sinned, suffering entered into the world, and unto this day, that suffering has not stopped, nor will it until we go into heaven. ¿Qué es la promesa del cielo? Ni dolor. ¿Qué? ¿Qué más, hermana? No tristeza, no llanto, no dolor. There's no more pain, there's no more tears, there's no more crying, there's no more suffering in heaven. If we're suffering, it's because we're alive. If we're feeling a suffering moment today, it's because we're still living. Gracias al Señor. Está vivo. We're still alive. Is your and my suffering any different than what's happened with anybody else in this world? Vamos a regresar a la historia de Jesucristo en San Mateo, en Matthew 27. Matthew 27, verse 46. No, let's go to 45 first. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land in the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, Eli, 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 lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Y desde la hora sexta hubo tinieblas sobre toda la tierra hasta la hora novena. Cerca de la hora novena Jesús clamó gran voz diciendo, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Esto es, Dios mío, ¿por qué me has desamparado? ¿Por qué? How is it possible that all of the earth was covered in darkness? ¿Cómo es posible que todo el mundo está sobre las nubes? Porque yo creo que Dios está bien cerca de su Hijo en este momento, que el sol está más allá, pero Dios con su presencia está por medio del mundo y el sol, y todo el mundo está sobre en tinieblas. That God was so close watching His Son die por un propósito, that His Son was dying for a purpose, and that God was so very close watching His Son all at that moment. Todo el pecado, all of the sin of the world was on His shoulders. All of the suffering that He experienced in that moment. But for the purpose, God had to leave Him to die completely as a human and experience every experience we experience. Experimentar todas las experiencias hasta muerte. He had to experience it unto death. And so in this moment, even Jesus felt like, where is God? He left me. But 45 says that God's presence had to be so close. The darkness over all the land. Toda la tierra. That God was so very close in that moment, we could probably touch His Son and take Him away from it. But porque el amor de usted y yo, Él sacrificó su único hijo por un propósito, for a purpose. Jesucristo recibe latigazos, Jesucristo recibe rechazo, Jesucristo recibe todo que nosotros merecemos. He received everything that we deserved because our punishment for sin is death. El sufrimiento de pecado es muerte, pero Jesucristo paga el precio por nosotros. Él experimentó lo que es no sentir la presencia de su Padre. That He did not feel the presence of God with Him at that moment. Jesucristo experimentar lo que usted y yo sentir muchas veces. The same thing that we feel in our experience right now. We're saying, God, where are you? We read in your book that you never leave us, but I don't feel it. Yo no sentir su presencia. Jesucristo sentir el mismo. Jesucristo entendemos usted y yo. Jesus understands what it is to feel like the presence of God is not there. Jesucristo que puede sanar sus cicatrices. Return to the story. Jesus restores completely, restores physically, restores mentally, restores emotionally. Jesucristo restaurará físicamente, espiritualmente y socialmente. By showing himself to the priest to be considered clean or cleansed, he can return to his normal life. The leper could return to his family, his friends, and his home. Por sí mismo mostrando que el sacerdote debe ser considerado limpio o limpiado, él puede volverá a la vida normal. No, that didn't come out right. El leproso podía volver a su familia, amigos y hogar. Jesus wants to completely restore your life today, restore your home life, restore your broken relationships, restore us from our past losses. Jesús puede restaurar completamente su vida hoy, restaurar su vida, restaurar sus relaciones rotas, restaurar de nuestras perdidas pasadas. Jesus wants to heal our hurts that others could never heal. Maybe it's the scars of an old wound that you never got over. Maybe it's the scars of insecurity. Maybe it's the scars of a past sin that you can't seem to forgive yourself. Maybe it's the scars of sin that you never dealt with. Jesus quiere sanar las heridas que otras no pueden sanar. Tal vez sea las cicatrices de una vieja herida que usted nunca se recuperó. Tal vez sea las cicatrices de la inseguridad. Tal vez sea las cicatrices de los pecados pasados, del parece que no puede perdonar. Tal vez sea cicatrices del pecado que no puede vencer. Come and be healed today. Ven y sé sano hoy. I don't know what's going on in your life today. I know what's been going on in our lives. Yo no sé su vida hoy. ¿Qué pasan? Es un momento en nuestra vida es que no sentir la presencia del Señor. That I don't feel Jesus' presence. That I feel like Jesus on the cross. God, I thought you were always going to be with me, but I don't feel you. Yo no sentir su presencia aquí, Señor. Yo fue sanado de esta leprosidad en mi vida. I need to be healed of this leprosy in my life. I need to be healed. I need to be restored. I need to be able to return to my family, return to my work, return to my former life or a better life. Una mejor vida, una mejor promesa para mañana. Si tiene necesidad en este día, si tiene necesidad, la cuestión no es si puedes sanarme. Señor, sanarme por favor. The question is not is can you heal me, God, of my suffering? The question is, Lord, please heal me. I know you can do it. Yo sé que puedes sanarme. Necesitan su presencia en mi vida. Necesitan su presencia en mi vida hoy en día. Necesitan sanar mi relación. Necesitan sanar esta circunstancia en mi vida. The front is open. El frente está abierto. Tienen necesidad. Hablan con Dios. Habla con Dios. And we can pray with you. Yo no sé su circunstancia hoy en día, pero Dios sí. God knows what's going on in your life. But God is still waiting for us to take the decision. Toma la decisión para pedir, Señor, yo necesitan su toca hoy en día. We have to take the decision to say, God, I need your healing today. Yo necesitan su sanación hoy en este día. Señor, gracias por su palabra, gracias por su enseñanza. Gracias por cada familia aquí. God, we thank you for every family that's able to come today. Restore us. Restore our hope in you, God. Give us a new promise that we can go out tomorrow and say, Jesus healed me from my wounds. Jesus healed me from my leprosy. Jesus healed my life. And I want to share that same promise with you. Who is Jesus in my life? Señor, dárteme el gozo para compartir quién es Jesucristo en mi vida. Quién sanó a mí de circunstancia. Who healed me of my circumstance in this day? Who was it that healed me? None of us are exempt from suffering. Nadie, todo se sufrió. Pero sufrió más Jesucristo por nosotros. Jesus suffered even more for our cause, for our love, for our forgiveness. Gracias, Señor, porque murió en la cruz por nosotros. Sufrió más que nosotros sufrió. Y gracias porque tiene chance, tiene habilidad para vivir una vida completa. That we, God, that we can live